Petra Koziollek, you're Chief Audit Executive of TAFE New South Wales. You filled internal audit roles across the tourism, medical, education and transport industries. Is that typical and one of the attractions of the career indeed?
It is, Adrian. I must say in the 20 or so years I've been working in the profession, whether it is at Deloitte, City of Sydney or now at TAFE, the opportunities to work across a variety of spectrums has been of interest to me. It wasn't, I fell into audit, but I must say I absolutely find it a passion of mine to be able to help organisations achieve their objectives.
Now, looking at what you do on a daily basis, when you enter a new environment, do you already know how you're going to be valuable, or does it depend on what you find on the ground?
Look, I think when you're talking value, that can be different things for different organisations and depending how mature the control environment is. For example, at TAFE, which is a new role for me, one of the things I'm doing is getting out and seeing what the business is all about. I think auditors really need to get out of their office and onto the ground, regardless of whether you're in a manufacturing, whether you're in a service industry, you've got to get out there where it's happening. And as far as the value that you bring to that, it's the same, but it's different, which maybe sounds a little bit strange, but you're always looking to improve controls to make things a little bit safer so things don't go walking. But you also want to make sure that you don't overcomplicate and overbake a control because you've got to look at the risk. And people have to, how do you put it, they actually have to go and live with what you've said in that audit report later on. So you're constantly thinking, how can I make it easier for that person to do their job?
You've mentioned you're at TAFE New South Wales just of a short period of time. What though has been the biggest challenge so far for you at TAFE?
Well, TAFE here in New South Wales, it's got a geographic spread across all of New South Wales, which is different perhaps to say other organisations such as the City of Sydney or other clients I've worked at, which have got a very small geographic spread. So that creates its own interests and opportunities and its own risks.
And it's the backbone really of the state's vocational training system. Does that weigh on your mind at all?
Look, I think it does. I mean, at the moment now when we're talking vet training, it's now in a competitive environment, which all states have gone through and are going through. So it's under constant transition, which has its challenges, Adrian, but it also definitely has its opportunities.
What are you seeing as some of those opportunities?
Well, if I look at TAFE, it's an organisation that has 10 institutes across, so the opportunities are trying to standardise and find efficiencies in the processes that are being done across the business, so that then can allocate resources to other things. And audit is very well placed to actually do that. That's one of the values they do, in that you can go into 2 or 3 institutes, you don't need to see all 10, and then you can share that learnings across all of them, and they can then see how well can they make those processes fit across all 10.
So that's interesting, isn't it? That that's what you've done as an internal auditor. You've gone in a very short space of time. You've identified opportunities, which tends to underscore the proposition that internal audits are very much advisory, very much pointy end of a business or an organisation.
Well, it can be both. It can be very much at the pointy end, but it can also be at the strategic end as well, yes.
Now, when you've done a great job or made a good call, what are the sorts of things that colleagues might say to you?
Look, I suppose it's, if I refer back to at the City of Sydney recently, one particular director said to me, look, thank you so much for this particular audit. You actually helped me sleep better at night. And I thought, now that's a strange thing to say, but when I actually reflected back on that particular audit and having brought her those issues at that point in time, rather than letting them continue on, or perhaps I don't want to use the word fester, but get worse what it could have been, I can actually understand how that really has given that woman such relief to say, yes, okay, now that problem's solved, I now know what I have to do and I'll go off and sort that one out.
And do you regard it as a leadership position?
I do, Adrian. With a lot of organisations, they're really looking to audit and risk executives now to give that extra level of assurance. Within most leadership groups, you've got the technical experts, you've got legal, you've got the operations. You need that risk and governance there, and that's what audit brings to the table.
You mentioned IT and, let's face it, cybersecurity, data mining, social media, they've just burgeoned in recent years. But organisations worldwide seem a little bit slow to grasp the threats and the opportunities there. But is that where internal auditors are now stepping up to the mark as more strategic players, more leadership players?
I think in some areas they are, Adrian. I think in others it's probably still lagging behind. It's not something that I think most of us are very comfortable with, so it's something that we have to step outside and take that courageous leap and either learn or actually buy in those resources to support us in supporting our businesses. Organisations are being a lot more nimble now, and even when I look at TAFE and the vet sector, we're seeing that a lot of students and the demand is for more online activity, so we need to meet that demand, and therefore we need to have sophisticated systems to support that, which then brings in the cyber risk and other IT risks that we need to be able to review and assess and give some assurance back to.
Petra Koziollek, thank you very much for that education on TAFE New South Wales and indeed the role of internal auditor.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, Adrian.